Hello and welcome back to Koala Moon, a podcast of original children's bedtime stories and meditations designed to make bedtime a dream. This is The Zebra Who Couldn't Get Any Z's by Jane Thomas. On the very edge of Sleepy Forest, there's a sleepy savannah. There's a river that runs along the edge, and in the river live crocodiles and hippos peacefully side by side, nostrils twitching above the surface of the water as they hide from the heat of the sun. And as you go further in, if you look behind the bushes and around trees, you'll spot elephants and giraffes and herds of buffalo wandering around, munching contentedly on leaves and sticks and, let's face it, in the cases of elephants, entire branches sometimes. Rhinos are there too, of course, and a whole load of complicated animals that look a little bit like deer but are called things like klipspringers and sable antelope and bushbuck. And out on the plains, that's where you'll find the zebras. They're often hanging about with wildebeest who look a little as if they've been around since the time of the woolly mammoths. They live side by side in groups in perfect harmony, where the zebras like to eat long grasses until they're worn down to a stump, and the wildebeest love to eat short grasses that have been, thanks to the zebra, worn down to a stump. Of course, weaving their way between the trees and the plains and the river are the lions and cheetahs and leopards and hyenas with their different types of spots and fancy hairdos. And sometimes they'll sleep in trees, and sometimes they'll sleep out in the open. And nobody really ever bothers anyone, because everyone in Sleepy Forest has this wonderful ability to just get on with everyone else. This story is about one particular zebra. He isn't that old, just 6 months, which in human years makes him all of 7 years old. His stripy pajamas aren't quite yet black and white, because zebras are born with brown and white stripes, and then as they got older, they slowly changed the brown to black to announce to the world that they've officially grown up. And he hasn't quite grown into his hooves yet, so he has these long, gangly legs and big hooves, and he looks as though he should be wobbling about, but he doesn't at all. He leaps and lunges and pirouettes and prances along with the best of them. Any ideas what this zebra is called? I'm guessing you said something like Ziggy or Zane. Or perhaps you thought about his stripes and came up with something like Candy Cane. Well, you couldn't be more wrong. Our hero of the story is called Toby, which is about as unlikely a name as you can imagine for a zebra. But if you ever meet him, you'll instantly say, "Oh, of course, he couldn't be anything but a Toby. He just has a look about him that somehow fits the name." Well, that and the name tag he wears on his chest. That's another reason you'd instantly know he was Toby. Now, here's something you and Toby might have in common. And I'm guessing you never thought you'd have much in common with a zebra. Have you ever had one of those days that was so exciting, with so much going on, that it made you so hyper and happy and excited by everything that even though you were really, really tired, you just couldn't go to sleep? Everything keeps whirling around in your brain, and it's impossible to make it stop. Toby has a lot of those days. I'm sure you would too if you lived somewhere like he did, with so many wonderful things to see and fantastic creatures to play with. So, He is known near and far, far and wide, as the zebra who can't get any Z's. He just doesn't sleep. Well, he does, obviously, but not when he wants to. Not when he lies down at night with his head nuzzled onto the soft warmth of his mother's big round belly. Not when he gets himself all cosy beneath the branches of a sweeping tree, a pile of grass making the perfect pillow. No, he would just get so tired all of a sudden that he lies down in the middle of the day under the hot sun and has a nap. And when he wakes up from those naps, he's all grumbly and grouchy and grizzly for a while, because he didn't really have a very good sleep at all. And now he's all hot and sweaty and needs to go to the river for a bath. And everything is just too much for this little zebra. So, today, tired of being, tired, Toby's mother has suggested he goes to all the animals he can find and ask them for tips on how to go to sleep. She suggests this partly because it's a very good idea indeed, and partly because Toby kept her awake all last night by asking her questions, and she wants a little bit of peace to have a good long nap all by herself. "Which star is that?" Toby asked, just as she was about to fall asleep. "Can I see a planet tonight?" Toby asked, just as her eyelids were drooping shut. "Did you see that owl flying by?" Toby asked, when she was on the brink of taking a first satisfied snore. And so it went on. "Did you see that bat? How do bats fly so fast? Can bats see where they're going? Is the moon really made of cheese?" The whole night long. It was when Toby's mother yawned so long and so wide that she accidentally swallowed 6 whole flies in the process that she realized it was time for her to get some sleep. And so she has sent Toby out on his mission to learn all about snoozing and sleeping and snoring and dreaming. The first animal Toby comes across, of course, is a wildebeest. "Excuse me, wildebeest," says Toby very politely, as he has been brought up to be a polite little zebra. "Would you mind telling me the secret of sleep? For I am the zebra who can't get any Z's." The wildebeest scratched his head with his hoof for a moment and gave the question some thought. "I suppose," he said at last, "I like to sleep in the very middle of the herd. That way I have 100 other wildebeest all wrapped around me, and it's the warmest, snuggliest, softest blanket anyone could ever dream of having. I like to lie back with someone's head on my belly and my head on someone else's, and our hooves all tangled together, so in the morning it's all confusing as to which legs belong to which of us, and we don't really know until we stand up. And I count the stars in the sky to fall asleep." And the wildebeest paused before adding thoughtfully, "Do you know, I've never counted more than 10 before I'm fast asleep." Toby, polite as ever, thanked the wildebeest for his words, and the wildebeest bowed his head and said Toby was very welcome and went back on his way. Toby trotted straight back to his mother who had just slipped into the most beautiful sleep she had known in ages, and, nudging her with his nose, he woke her up, shaking with excitement. "Mum, Mum," he said as she looked at him with bleary, sleepy eyes. "I asked the wildebeest." His mother nodded her head. "That's lovely, dear," she said, eyes already closing again. "Go and ask someone else." Toby considered waking her up again to ask her who he should visit next. But fortunately for her, a giraffe wandered by in the distance. So Toby kept his question to himself and trotted across the wide open plain. "Excuse me, Mr. Giraffe," called Toby, waiting for the sound of his voice to reach the giraffe's head so very far away before he went on. "Would you mind telling me the secret of sleep? For I'm the zebra who can't get any Z's." The giraffe looked down at the little zebra, far, far below, and then stretched his neck all the way to the ground so he could speak more easily with Toby. "Well now," he said, chewing a pile of leaves as he thought aloud. "I suppose I like to sleep leaning up against a tree," he said at last. Toby was silent, big eyes asking questions for him. So the giraffe continued. "Yes, you see, I find it very convenient to sleep standing up. Sometimes I get terribly hungry right in the middle of the night, and it's awfully good if all I need to do is lean my head forwards a matter of inches, and I can grab a snack right off the tree. I'm very careful about which tree I fall asleep against, you know, lining myself up with the tastiest morsels before I nod off." Toby thanked the giraffe, and the giraffe smiled at him, and then lifted his head once more. He was buried in the tree in such a way that when Toby walked away and looked back, all he could see was the giraffe's legs poking out of the bottom, and the giraffe's head poking out of the top, and no body or neck at all. And Toby had a little giggle to himself as he walked back to his mother. "Mum, Mum," he said, nuzzling into the side of her neck. She had been busy having a lovely little nap, imagining getting her hooves done at the hoof salon, all polished and shiny, and perhaps with a hint of sparkle added to them to suit the latest fashion. And then she woke to Toby smiling excitedly at her. "I spoke to a giraffe." "That's lovely, dear," she said, still half asleep. "Why don't you go and ask someone else?" She was about to fall fully asleep again and go back to the hoof salon when she had a thought. "Listen, Toby," she said, with a lot of love but a lot of exhaustion piled in together. "Go and talk to 5 other animals. Then come back and tell me all about it." She blew him a kiss and then fell fast asleep in an instant. Toby considered waking her up to ask which 5 animals he should ask, when, fortunately for his mother, he saw a leopard strolling by in the distance. Toby trotted off, dust kicking up from his hooves as he ran, and then skidded to a halt beside the leopard. "Excuse me, leopard," he said, stopping the leopard just as he was about to leap up a tree. "Would you mind telling me the secret of sleep? For I am the zebra who can't get any Z's." The leopard, who was on her way to take an afternoon nap, decided to delay her sleep to help the zebra out. The leopard could think of nothing worse than not being able to sleep, or indeed not have any Z's, because it was a big part of every day for her. "Do you see that branch up there, little one?" she said, pointing towards a bough that draped and swooped. Toby nodded. "Well," the leopard went on, "I like to find a bough just like that so I can lie in it and let my tail hang down and swish and sway in the breeze. If I'm very lucky, I will find one with a nice padding of soft moss that I can use as a pillow." The leopard looked at Toby and looked at the tree and said, "I'm not sure that's terribly helpful. Can you climb trees? I have claws in my paws, but your hooves are shiny and smooth." Toby tried to climb the tree but kept slipping down, landing with a bump and a thump at the bottom. "Maybe," said the leopard kindly when he had crashed down for the 4th time in as many minutes, "you just aren't supposed to sleep in a tree. Perhaps some other animal has the magic formula for you. Look, there's an elephant. Go and ask him." With that, the leopard disappeared into the tree in a quick leap and a bound and a jump, and nestled into the curve she had been eyeing up for some time now, leaning her head into the soft patch of moss and letting her tail down to swing in the breeze. Toby called up to thank her, then pounded away to catch up with the elephant. Elephants are surprising creatures. If you don't keep your eye on them, they'll have disappeared behind a bush before you know it, and you never see them again. When he was close, Toby called out, "Excuse me, elephant," panting a little after all his running. "Oh, would you mind telling me the secret of sleep? For I am the zebra who can't get any Z's." The elephant paused on his way and looked down at the zebra. "Look at my size," he slowly said. And Toby did indeed look at the huge size of the elephant standing before him. "Do you know how much I have to eat every day to keep this size?" Toby shook his head, his mind racing, trying to guess how much. "A lot," was the answer. "An awful lot. More than you can imagine. So my favorite thing is to sleep and eat at the same time." Toby's eyes grew wide. "You can do both at the same time?" he said, impressed by what he could only think of as a magic trick. The elephant nodded solemnly, reaching forwards to pull a branch from a tree and start inserting it into his mouth as he spoke. Toby tried not to look. His mother had taught him to be polite, and that very much included not speaking with your mouth full. The elephant spat out bits of leaves and bark as he spoke. "I have to," he said. "Very, important to me. I only sleep about 2 hours a day, too. I'm not sure I'm the best to answer your question. Look, if you're very quick, you might just catch that hippo. Why don't you ask her?" Toby said thank you and trotted off towards the hippo, all the while wondering if he could master the art of sleeping and eating at the same time. He managed to catch the hippo just as she was about to slip into her afternoon mud bath. "Excuse me, hippo," he said. "Would you mind telling me the secret of sleep? For I am the zebra who can't get any Z's." The hippo squelched her way into the edge of the muddy pool, feeling it ooze beneath her feet in the glorious, delicious way mud manages to do. "I like to sleep under water," she said, and Toby opened his eyes even wider than when he'd heard the elephant say he liked to eat and sleep at the same time. "You see, I sleep under there, and when I need to take a breath, my body just floats to the surface for me. And I breathe, and then I sink down again." "How often?" began Toby, but the hippo interrupted him, guessing his question. "Every 5 minutes, she said solemnly, smiling a little as the zebra's eyes opened wider and wider. "And for how—" began Toby, but again the hippo interrupted him, having guessed what he would ask. "For 10 hours, she said, nodding her head slowly to confirm it. "And I like to fit in a 3-hour nap in the day too," she added, waddling further into the mud and sinking in so only her nostrils and eyes and ears poked above the surface. Toby walked over to the edge of the muddy pond where the water was clearer and stuck his head inside. He closed his eyes and held his breath, and 10 seconds later pulled his head out to breathe again. He tried it so many times, each time taking a bigger gulp of air and holding it as best he could, but in the end he had to give up. "I'm not sure that's the best way for you to sleep, little one," said the hippo. "It works for me, but might not work for you. Why don't you ask someone else? Try and find a lion. They are the champion sleepers." And with that, she disappeared into the mud completely. Toby called out a thank you, even though he could no longer see the hippo, and headed off to find a lion. It didn't take him long. There was one fast asleep beneath the tree. He was about to wake her up with a poke of his nose and ask, "Would you mind telling me the secret of sleep? For I am the zebra who can't get any Z's," when he remembered some very good advice his mother had given him once. "Let sleeping lions lie," she had told him. And when Toby had asked why, she just said, "You've never met anyone as grouchy as a lion who has been woken up." So, instead, Toby sat and watched the lion for a while, noting how she had chosen a place in the shade of the tree so she wouldn't get too hot in the sun, and how her tail flicked around to keep the flies away from her, even though she stayed asleep, and how her head rested comfortably on her paws, so she had a perfectly good mobile pillow. As he watched, a tortoise wandered by, so Toby took the opportunity to ask him his fifth animal. "Excuse me, tortoise," he said. "Would you mind telling me the secret of sleep? For I am the zebra who can't get any Z's." The tortoise blinked at him a few times, and then said, "Well, for me, I just disappear into my shell, and there I am, in a cool, dark place, ready for sleep. I can't recommend it enough." He looked across at Toby thoughtfully. "Of course, you don't travel with a shell, do you? Perhaps you'll have to find another way." With that, the tortoise tucked himself into his shell, his legs and his tail and his head all disappearing inside, and it wasn't long before Toby heard the soft echoes of snores coming from within. He trotted back to his mother, who was just waking up from her glorious nap, looking down at her hooves and feeling a little sad they didn't have the sparkle she'd dreamed about, but mentally putting into her calendar a visit to the hoof salon in the near future. "Mum, Mum," called Toby. "I spoke with so many animals. I spoke with a leopard, and an elephant, and a hippo, and a tortoise. And I looked at a lion, but I did just as you said, and I let her carry on sleeping." "Very good, dear," said his mother, smiling fondly at her little zebra. "And what did you learn?" Toby thought about it for a minute. "I suppose," he said slowly, "I suppose I learned that everyone sleeps differently. They all had different places and ways they liked to sleep. And," he added a little sadly, "none of their ways worked for me. I can't climb trees, or eat while I'm sleeping, or sleep underwater, or sleep for 20 hours a day, or disappear inside my shell." "Perhaps, Toby," said his mother kindly, "you just need to work out what makes you fall asleep. Look at all the other zebras," she said with a swish of her tail to point out a whole herd of them. Toby looked and saw that the zebras were all standing up, knees locked in place, eyes shut. And then, moments later, some of them were awake again, moving forwards and eating, before closing their eyes once more and being asleep. "They're sleeping, standing up?" said Toby curiously. His mother nodded. "And they only sleep for little bits at a time?" His mother nodded again. "So," he said at last, "I don't need to lie down and sleep for 8 hours a night?" His mother shook her head. "That works for some creatures, dear, but not for others. We're all different. We do different things in the day, and we do different things in the night, and that's okay. Some creatures sleep on their front, with their arms wrapped around a pillow, and some sleep on their side, with their knees tucked up to their chest, and some sleep on their back, with a blanket right up to their chin. Some sleep with a pile of blankets and like to be cozy and warm, and some sleep with the window open and their feet sticking out from the end of the bed, because otherwise they get too hot. Toby was amazed at all the different ways creatures could sleep. "So," he said slowly, "should I try the zebra way?" His mother nodded. "I think that's a very good idea," she said. Toby stood and locked his knees in place and let his eyes shut. And for a full 5 minutes he was fast asleep. And then he woke up and moved forwards and ate some grass and smiled to his friends. And then, once more, he locked his knees and closed his eyes and fell fast asleep. And he found that even in those few minutes, he could have wonderful dreams, in which he could climb trees and swim for hours underwater, and disappear inside a home that he carried around on his back, and all sorts of amazing things that are only possible when we fall asleep and let ourselves be carried away by magic carpets and shooting stars and on the wings of fairies. Now we're floating into a deep and peaceful sleep. Feel how your muscles are relaxing. Your arms are heavy and your legs are too, as they loosen and release any tension remaining from the day. Feel how you let your body fall into the cozy warmth of your bed. Close your eyes. Let your eyelids be heavy. Breathe deeply. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out as you continue to breathe deeply, and as you keep feeling how your body becomes soft and heavy with sleep. Let your mind drift away. That is the wonderful secret about sleep. While your body rests, lying heavily in your bed, your mind is set free, like a bird taking flight from a branch and flying up and up and up into the air. Feel how your mind loosens now, like a balloon that has been untied from a fence, and floats up and up and up like a bird. Up and up and up it floats towards the sky, until it reaches up into the clouds. Imagine that you have risen up high above the world and your head has poked up through the clouds. Then spread out all around you in the silvery moonlight, white fluffy clouds that look like cotton wool or marshmallows. They look so soft and squishy you can lie back on them and roll around in them. Try it now. Lie back in the soft cradle of the clouds. Feel how they swirl and wrap around your body, holding you gently in the world of sleep. Clouds come in all shapes and sizes. Some are big and fluffy, some are slender wisps. Some look like puffy mushrooms, and others look like paintbrush strokes that have been left on the dark sky. Let your body relax. Let your mind relax too. Let your mind float off into sleep. You are peaceful. You are safe. You are being held in the cozy warmth of sleep. With your eyes closed, let your mind drift up, up, up and away. In the world of dreams, you can go anywhere you like. You can float on blue oceans with ripples and tufts of waves. Or you can visit castles built in the sky with spiraling turrets and drawbridges over sparkling moats. Or you can wander into the peaceful woods where the birds are twittering and the trees are dense with dark green leaves. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out again as you fall more deeply into your cozy sleep. And with your eyes still closed, take a look around with your mind at where your dreams have taken you. When I fall asleep, I dream that I've gone to a world high up in the clouds. Sometimes the clouds are dappled silver from the moonlight. Sometimes they're soft pink and gold, reflecting the light of the twinkling stars. What form do your dreams take? Where does your mind go when you fall asleep? Maybe in your dreams there are flocks of white fluffy sheep huddling together on the green fields. Look at the mother ewe yawn widely before she tucks her little lambs beneath her woolly fleece. Or maybe you dream of a friendly dragon, curled up with his tail wrapped around him, a little trail of clouds puffing out of his nostrils. Look, the cloud dragon is smiling at us and waving. What a friendly dragon he is. Or maybe you dream of cute puppies lying on their backs, their tongues lolling out of their mouths, their eyes closing because they've had such a long day. They look tired, and there's their papa dog, fluffy and white, padding softly over to wish the puppies good night. Up here on the sea of clouds, you can be free. Feel how light you are, weightless, floating, drifting through sleep. Feel everything heavy from the day lift off you and drift away, taken away by currents until they disappear over the bank of clouds. Any worries you have been having, watch them float away. Anything that has been weighing on your mind during the daytime, now you can let them go and watch them drift away. Your worries are not you. You are not your worries. You can let them go. Watch them float away. Now you are light as air. You are as gentle as starlight. You are as soft as the clouds. Up in the sleepy sky, everything is weightless and peaceful. The clouds stretch out like a sea of tranquility. Close your eyes and feel the clouds wrap around you. Feel them bearing your body gently into the land of sleep. Feel your eyes close. Feel them rest heavily as your body relaxes into sleep. Feel your mind lighten. Feel it loosen and drift away, light as a feather, soft as the clouds. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. The world of clouds is waiting for you. Let yourself fall into the clouds' soft, warm hug. They are here to protect you. They are here to cushion you. They are here to hold you as you enjoy your deep and peaceful sleep. Sleep well, little one. Sleep well in the land of clouds. Feel how light you are. Feel how weightless, floating, drifting through sleep, light as air, gentle as starlight, soft as clouds. Good night, little one. Sleep